everyone, especially to our students who really love to learn mathematics. This video will discuss the first topic in grade 9 math, and it's all about quadratic equation. So please listen carefully, or if you want, you can also get your notebook and pen and take down some important notes about our topic. Our objectives in this video will be the first MELC, or the most essential learning competency in Mathematics 9, and that is to illustrate quadratic equation. We will be able to know what is a quadratic equation. And for the KSA objectives, we have this. For the knowledge, you will be able to recognize and give examples of a quadratic equation. For the skills, illustrate quadratic equation. And for the attitude or values, you will be answering given exercises with honesty and accuracy. Now let's start. What is a quadratic equation? What does it mean and what is it all about? The name quadratic comes from quad, meaning square, because the variable gets squared like x squared. Therefore, a quadratic equation is an equation where the highest exponent of the variable, usually x, is 2. So as you can see from the definition, it is an equation, meaning to say it must have an equal sign. And remember that the highest exponent of the variable is 2. Just a recap or a recall about the exponent. The exponent is written on the upper right of a certain number or a variable, just like this one, x raised to 4. 4 is our exponent. So here in a quadratic equation, the highest exponent is 2. That is why it is called as equation of degree 2. The degree of an equation is determined through the highest exponent of the variable in an equation. So, kung ang highest exponent ng isang equation is 2, the degree of equation is 2. If the highest exponent is 3, the degree of equation is 3. So it is determined by the highest exponent of the variable. Let us now have the examples of a quadratic equation. We have now 5 equations here, and we're going to identify which among these equations are quadratic and which among are not quadratic equation. Let's begin with the first equation, and that is 3x squared minus x minus 5 is equal to 0. What do you think is the highest exponent here? The highest exponent of this equation is 2. Therefore, this is a quadratic equation. Next, how about this one? 5x minus 3 is equal to 0. Is it a quadratic or not quadratic equation? What is the highest exponent of this equation? Yes, the highest exponent is not 2, but 1. So therefore, this is not a quadratic equation. Next, how about the third equation here? We have x cubed plus 4x minus 3x squared is equal to 0. Do you think it is also a quadratic equation? No, it is not a quadratic equation because what is the highest exponent here? The highest exponent here is 3, right? Not 2. Although we can see 2 here as our exponent, 2 is not the highest exponent, but the highest exponent is 3. Therefore, this is also not a quadratic equation. Next is the fourth equation here. 2x squared plus 12x is equal to 0. What do you think is the highest exponent of this equation? Yes, the highest exponent is 2. Therefore, this is a quadratic equation. And the last one, x squared minus 4x is equal to 0. You can see here that the highest exponent is 2, and it is a quadratic equation. Okay, so you can notice here that all the quadratic equation has the highest exponent of 2. Okay, unlike on the not quadratic here, the highest exponent here is 1 and the highest exponent here is 3. So we can now easily say that a quadratic equation must be, the highest exponent of a quadratic equation must be 2. But let us have more examples. Let us now have the examples of a quadratic equation. Another example of a quadratic equation is this: x times the quantity of x plus 2 is equal to -1. But you will notice that there is no 2 exponent here. So how come that this is an example of a quadratic equation? The reason is that we need to simplify it first or find its product. And the product of this is a quadratic equation. Let's see. We will apply the distributive property of multiplication to get its product. The first step here is to multiply x to the first term inside the parenthesis, and that is x. X times x, the answer will be x squared. We will just simply add the exponent in multiplying this. Next step, we will multiply x and into the second term inside the quantity, and that is 2. X times 2, the answer is 2x plus 2x, and just copy -1 equals to -1, just like this. X squared plus 2x is equal to -1, but a quadratic equation must be equal to 0. So we will transpose or move the -1 here to this side. And as we move it, we will change the sign. It will become +1 or +1. Therefore, the product of this is x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. You can see now that we have the highest exponent of 2 in its product. Therefore, this is also an example of a quadratic equation. Another example, we have x squared, quantity x squared, x plus 2 times quantity of x minus 5 is equal to 0. This is a multiplication of two binomials. And this is also considered as a quadratic equation because we all know that if we multiply this, the product is a quadratic equation, or it will become x squared. And in getting the product, we will use the FOIL method. Okay, the first term, outer, inner, and last term. Okay, let's see. X plus 2, our quantity x plus 2 times the quantity x minus 5 is equal to 0. We will be multiplying the first term. Okay, x times x. The answer is x squared. Followed by the O, or the outer term. The outer term is this x and -5. So x times -5, we have -5x. Followed by the inner term, and that is 2 and x. 2 times x, the answer is +2x. And for the L, the last term, that is 2 and -5. 2 times -5, The answer is a negative 10. And then copy equal to 0. But we can simplify negative 5 and positive 2, right? We can add the product of O and I. So negative 5x plus 2x, since they have same term, we can simplify this. So the answer is negative 3x. Therefore, the final product is x squared minus 3x minus 10 is equal to 0. You see here that the highest exponent of the product is 2. Therefore, this example is also a quadratic equation. The standard form of a quadratic is written as ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, and c are real numbers. And always remember that a must not be equal to 0, because if a is equal to 0, this is not a quadratic equation anymore. Okay, let us find out more about it. The first term that we have in our quadratic equation, ax squared, is called as our quadratic term. Okay, so yung merong x squared, yun yung quadratic term na tinatawag natin. While the bx, or yung x lang or 1 yung exponent, that is linear term. And the last one, yung silang or yung number lang, that is what we call the constant term. We have now 3x squared minus x plus 5 equals to 0. What will be our quadratic, linear, and constant term? The quadratic term has the x squared or the 2 exponent. Here we have 3x squared. That is the quadratic term. The linear term, okay, that is the negative x, or it has a 1 exponent, right? A variable having a 1 exponent. This is our linear term. And the last term, the number only, that is what we call the constant term. This time, we're going to find the values of a, b, and c of a quadratic equation. We have the equation 3x squared minus x plus 5 is equal to 0. What will be the a, b, and c here? A is equal to 3. A can be seen beside the x squared, or the variable having this 2 exponent. The number beside it is the value of A. How about the value of B? The value of B is found here, the number beside the x. But you cannot see a number here, right? But we can still remember that it has an invisible one here, and no need for us to write it down in this equation. But if we are asked to find b, b is equal to negative 1. Again, it has an invisible one here. And if we want to find the value of c, the value of c here is negative 5. Positive 5. C is positive 5. Or the letter C, the value of C can be seen on the constant term. How about this one? X squared plus 4x minus 21 is equal to 0. What is A and what is B and what is C? A is, there is no number written here, but it has an invisible 1, right? So A is equal to 1. How about linear term or the b? The b is 4. B is equal to 4. And c. The c here, the constant term is negative 21. Okay, we will include the negative here. Again, do not include the variable in finding the values of a, b, and c. We understand now that the standard form of a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. But there are cases that we also have what we call incomplete quadratic equations. What are those incomplete quadratic equations? Example is this one, ax squared plus bx is equal to 0. As you notice, there is no c, right? Example of this equation, 2x squared plus 8x is equal to 0. If we are asked to find the a, b, and c, this will be the answer. A is equal to 2, b is equal to 8, and c is equal to 0. C is equal to 0 because there is no c here, right? There's no c. Another incomplete quadratic equation is in the form of ax squared plus c is equal to 0. Example, x squared minus 9 is equal to 0. If we are asked to find the values of a, b, and c, a is equal to 1, b is equal to 0 because there is no b or there's no linear term here, but we only have c. C is equal to negative 9. Another case is that ax squared. Still, this is an example of a quadratic equation, but it is incomplete and there is no b and c. Example, 2x squared is equal to 0. If we are asked to find the a, b, and c, a is equal to 2, b is equal to 0, and c is equal to 0. Both b and c are equal to 0. Remember that in a quadratic equation, b and c can be equal to 0. Yes, it can be. But it must not be a is not equal to 0. Okay? In A, sa letter A, dapat hindi siya equal to 0. Because if we let A is equal to 0, then our equation is not a quadratic anymore. Right? Okay, so let's have some exercise. Which of the following equations are quadratic equations? Number 1, 3x minus 2 is equal to 0. What do you think? Is it quadratic or not? Okay, the answer is not quadratic. Okay, we don't have two exponent, right? Number 2, x plus 3x squared is equal to 0. Is it quadratic or not? The answer is yes, it is a quadratic. We have here our 2 as the highest exponent. Next, number 3. 2 times the quantity of x minus 4 is equal to 0. Is it quadratic or not? The answer is not quadratic. Even though we multiply this, 2 times x, the answer is 2x. Okay? The product of this is not a quadratic equation. And the last one, how about the last one? X times the quantity of x plus 3 minus 5 is equal to 0. Is it quadratic or not? The answer, if we get the product of this, we have a quadratic equation. Okay, very good. So did you get it all correctly? I hope so. Next question is, A multiple choice. Write the letter and words of the correct answer. Number 5 question, which of these equations illustrate quadratic equation? Is it A, quantity x plus 3 plus 8 is equal to 0, B, square of x plus 3 is equal to 0, C, x plus y is equal to 0, or D, x cubed is equal to 2x? What is the answer? The correct answer is B. Square of x plus 3 is equal to 0. Next question. Number 6, it is a polynomial equation of degree 2. Is it A, quadratic equation, B, linear equation, C, quadratic inequality, D, linear inequality? What will be the answer? The answer here is, yes, quadratic equation. Number 7 question. Which of the following is the standard form of a quadratic equation? Is it A, ax plus b greater than or equal to 0, B, ax plus b is equal to 0, C, ax squared plus bx plus c is greater than or equal to 0, or D, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0? What will be the answer? The correct answer is, yes, you're correct, D, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Number 8, which of the following real number in the quadratic equation from ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0 cannot be 0? Is it A, B, C, or none of this? Alin yung dapat na hindi 0 sa quadratic? Okay, the answer is A. Number 9, which of the following is the quadratic term of our equation x squared minus 10x plus 25 is equal to 0? What is the quadratic term? Is it A, 0, B, negative 10x, C, x squared, D, 25? So the answer is, okay, the answer is C. And we also have the last one. What is the value of B in this equation? 3x squared minus 12x is equal to 0. Is it A, 3, B, negative 12, C, 3x squared, or D, negative 12x? Again, if we are asked to find B, the answer is only a number. So the answer here is, okay, the answer is negative 12. B, negative 12. And that's it. So how was your score? Did you pass the test? Did you get at least 8 and above out of 10? I hope so. Now let's summarize what we have learned today. We understand now that the quadratic equation is an equation where the highest exponent of the variable is 2. And we have the standard form of quadratic equation. We have ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. And remember, a must not be equal to 0. And a quadratic equation has a quadratic term, that is ax squared, linear term, bx, and the constant term is our c. Okay, we will talk about more about quadratic equation in my next video, so please stand by and watch me again on my next video. That's it. Bye bye.